Welcome to the broadcast, everybody. Have you seen these pictures that have been doing the rounds? They've gone viral via TikTok. And a young artist by the name of Becca Brandon, who grew up on a council estate here in the kingdom. And she reimagined members of the royal family. She gave them a royal makeover, a council estate vibe kind of makeover. And I just thought that the images were quite delicious. I really enjoyed them. And I loved this one of Big Willie, or should I say Big Billy. Does he look fit? You know, it took me by surprise. How absolutely gorgeous he looks. Bald. So who needs that hair? Get the clippers out, Catherine, and shave them off. You know, it made quite a stir online. A lot of people are saying, oh, my, seeing William in a whole new, different light. Shave off the hair, maybe grow in a little bit of fur around here for those not so tender kisses around Catherine's tender neck. Could be rather lovely, couldn't it? A little bit of fur never did anyone any harm. Harry, on the other hand, Harry didn't come out quite so well, quite so appealing, in my opinion. You know, I mean, they've covered up the head with a hat, a Burberry hat, so they've given him that sort of chav look, as we say here in the kingdom. And no, he doesn't look at all appealing, does he? Meghan fared rather better, I have to say, rather pretty in pink there. But, you know, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? Really fun to see them. And also there was one of the late Queen Elizabeth. She was done as a blonde, reimagined as a blonde. And she put people in mind of Amy Winehouse, actually. People said she looked a bit like Amy Winehouse going through her blonde phase. The Princess Royal paid a visit to the ITV studios and the set of Coronation Street, which was rather fabulous, because the late Queen visited on many occasions, didn't? Actually, it only seems like yesterday that I was reporting on it. You know, I think it was last year she paid a visit. Not long ago. Well, Princess Royal has been following in her footsteps, but actually she was mixing business with pleasure because she's the patron of the Acid Survivors Trust International, who have been advising Coronation Street on an upcoming storyline with regards to an acid attack. So it was mixing in that sort of serious business. And everybody was so delighted to see her there. She lit everybody up. They were honoured to have her there. And I have to say, I've come to love her and admire her wardrobe so much. It is so royal. And I love the colour palette she uses. It seems to be so much based on nature. You can imagine the lovely gardens at Gatcombe, influences from Balmoral, Highgrove, wherever, my dear. And it's always beautiful mossy tones, mustards, Queen Anne's lace, that lovely off-white shade, and heathers, and it's just a feast for the eyes. I absolutely love it. And what I also loved, just for you fruit basketeers out there who enjoy it when I say get it, got it, good. Well, I have mentioned this before actually, and I did run this clip a few months ago, but for those who missed it or are new, I lifted that catchphrase not from Danny Kaye. Some of you have said that catchphrase is used in a movie called, what was it? The Court Jester. Get it? Got it? Good. No, I get it from the character Bet Lynch, and I've got a picture of Bet Lynch, or Bet Gilroy, played by the fabulous Julie Goodyear, next to me. And it was said, my inspiration for it was uttered in that very spot where the Princess Royal is standing right now. So that's where it was, and I'll run the clip.
There are 3 things off limit in this pub: religion, politics, and pinching somebody else's wife or husband. Get it? Got it? Good. Carry on supping.
Get it? Got it? Good. And I believe that I actually first drew inspiration from that, not from that scene, but from the Julie Goodyear's autobiography called Just Julie. I might have shown it here before on a broadcast. Just Julie. I think it's a fabulous autobiography. It's got a surprising amount of depth and soul, and she had a very interesting story. So I really enjoyed that, and I really loved Julie Goodyear and the character of Bet Lynch. And, you know, those old episodes are available on YouTube from the 60s and 70s and 80s. No one here in the kingdom really watches soap operas anymore because people don't watch television, so the ratings aren't the same. And, you know, I'm always whinging about the dumbing down of everything in society, and one of those things is the quality of script writing and production. You know, it's kind of pushed out there, loads of episodes a week, but no real quality. So I certainly don't watch soap operas this side of the millennium. You know, I go back and watch the old episodes of yesteryear, which I think are rather fabulous. The Princess of Wales appeared today to give the Duchess of Sussex a lesson in what it means to be a chief executive to show everybody that's key and hold a great big board meeting around the table. But instead of coming out with nonsense on stilts, she came out with really useful, practical information. And she brought together some of the biggest firms in the kingdom to create a new task force, the Business Task Force for Early Childhood. It was their inaugural meeting at the NatWest HQ in the City of London, and she wants them to back her campaign to prioritise early childhood. And she's really widening out this mission of hers now, this passion project. And it was a round table discussion with all these bigwigs, and she was a total dream, polished, fresh, beautiful, in black trousers, trotting around in stilettos. She looked the part, but not just looked the part, she is the part, as she lives and breathes it. And this developed from a real passion of hers with all the work that she does with various charities and children. She identified and pinpointed the impact of early childhood on individuals, and she pledged and vowed to spend the rest of her days working to improve these lives through information and support for parents and teachers and carers in this, that and the fourth. And she was a total dream. Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Gloucester visited a volunteer centre in West Berkshire. This was for a knowledge event at Shaw House, where 100 charities came together in an effort to foster relationships and share knowledge between themselves, and also with statutory bodies such as councils, the NHS and emergency services, this sort of thing. And the Duchess is always beautifully and immaculately put together, always. She's another one of those unsung royals that is absolutely impeccable. She is the oxygen in the blood flow and the bloodstream of the royal family. She's one of them, completely unsung. Most people haven't got a single clue who she is, wouldn't know her from Adam. And in case you don't know who she is, my dear, she is the wife of the late Queen Elizabeth's cousin, the Duke of Gloucester. And, has devoted her life to service, does hundreds of engagements every year, and lots of it is the unglamorous stuff that the likes of the Sussexes were too busy to get on board with. They have more important things to do. They have to go and change the world and show everybody what's key. But the Duchess of Gloucester is involved with over 60 organisations, in areas such as the arts, military, sports, welfare, education, all of this sort of thing. And she was a picture in a black and white, is that gingham? Would you call that gingham, that scarf? Maybe gingham check, and royal blue. Lovely. The dashing Duke of Edinburgh met with the local community in Surrey at Farnham Riverside, where he sipped tea and showed that he was handy with a drill. We saw him planting the 70th tree in Farnham's new Jubilee Walk in commemoration of Her late Majesty's 70-year reign, which was very touching and very poignant. And he met the town clerk and His Majesty's Lord Lieutenant. He met with 2 children from Ukraine who have spent 2 years living locally, and looked at the little bug hotels that school children had built. And I know that it's only natural curiosity for people to ask about Edward's health and his look of late, and questions have been coming in about that, and I'm not reprimanding anybody for it. It's natural curiosity, but I will not be speaking on that subject. I think some things one has to draw a veil over, and the royal, when it comes to things like health or issues of weight, I think all those sort of things are rightly private. They are private matters for the royal family, and they are not for the likes of me to hold forth on. Okay, so I'm not trying to be mysterious or enigmatic about it, but as I have mentioned before, I am acquainted with godparents of the Edinburgh children, and therefore there is a duty of discretion. So I will not be holding forth on any of that business. But suffice to say, he seems to be getting on with his new role with absolute relish, doesn't he? Harry and Meghan have been coming in for some disparagement online because the Archetypes podcast has gone into partnership with the Global Boyhood Initiative, which encourages primary school children to question gender norms. And this group aimed to promote gender equity by fostering positive masculinity in boys and men. Now, I've had neither the time nor the inclination to do a deep dive into this campaign, my dear, so I'm not just going to come and slam them because I don't really know what they stand for, but I have heard a few things mentioned in the press. One report published by them last year suggests that families and schools are gender and heterosexuality factories, and gender is not tied to sex organs, so they claim. Well, right off the bat, they may believe that, and lots of people might believe that, but it's certainly not universally accepted. And this is where the The controversies are coming into play with Harry and Meghan associating themselves with this campaign. Another thing they said in this report is that parents may begin gendering their children even before birth based on the identification of external genitalia in scans, including through elaborate gender reveal parties and a stream of purchases along gender lines. Well, to be honest with you, gender is one of those subjects that, along with race, I'm sick to the back teeth of discussing, and race and gender are important issues, and they've always been widely discussed and acknowledged, but over the last few years, I mean, you know, my dears, don't you? You just can't open a newspaper or flick on anything on the screen without it being churned into your face. It just puts me off the whole subject entirely. If I never talk about race or gender again in my entire life, I would be absolutely thrilled. I wish, along everything that the wokerati seem to be banning, you know, not that I like any subjects to be banned, but I would happily ban conversation about race or gender forevermore. Sick to death of it, I am. But regardless, on the subject of gender, you know, people forget, including me, you know, because one doesn't realise how recent it is that various royal laws regarding primogeniture came about. Did you know? I know some of you will, but some of you won't know, that if William had been born female and was Wilhelmina or Princess Willa, and then Harry had come along second, Harry would now be on his way to kingdom. The Succession to the Crown Act of 2013 amended the provisions of the Bill of Rights and the Act of Settlement to end the system of male primogeniture, under which a younger son can displace an elder daughter in the line of succession, and this only applies to those born after the 28th of October 2011. So we have to be oh so thankful for that extra chromosome, that Y chromosome that William got, didn't we? Because yes, we would be on the way now to King Henry the Ninth and Queen Nutmeg. It's a disturbing thought, isn't it, my dears, and quite chilling. Quite chilling. Makes the blood run cold. And there are those that have asked, has Harry got an interest in transgenderism? Is Harry trans? Because some of you have suggested that it's Rachel that wears the trousers, Meghan takes on that role, and even though he called himself a stallion with regards to Sasha Walpole, he seemed to have a rather sort of submissive side to him. Not just associating submission with ladies, you know, I am the last person to do that, but I'm talking about traditional masculine, feminine roles. Many of you have asked if he's latent homosexual. I've always said no, I don't see that. But some of you are now asking, is he trans? And you know that it's deeply closeted. Could Harry have leanings? Could Harry have been, or want to be, or want to progress to Princess Harriet? It's a question. To have two duchesses. And, you know, one only needs to look, if you want to have an understanding of what Princess Harriet might look like, is to look at Lady Sarah McCorquodale, Auntie Sarah, because, you know, that's where he gets his red hair, and a lot of his looks, he looks a lot like her. So if you want to know what Princess Harriet would look like, or Queen Harriet if William wasn't born, then that gives you a pretty good impression, doesn't it, my dear? He would look like Lady Sarah, because, you know, there it is illustrated, the red hair in the family. It comes from the Spencer side, not from the Hewitt side, my dear conspiracy theorists. No, my dear, it's a Spencer trait. That's where he gets that lovely ginger hair, that dandelion affair. And the reason that some folk are suggesting that Henry hankers after Henrietta, and that is his true calling, the reason people suggest that is because of his deep psychological makeup and the fact that he believes that his father did not want a boy and always wanted number two to be a girl. Because Diana, as Harry knows, passed on notes to Andrew Morton for the book that she co-conspired on. And Diana spoke of her marriage to Charles in these notes, and she said, suddenly, as soon as Harry was born, it just went bang, our whole marriage, down the drain. Charles always wanted a girl. I knew Harry was a boy and didn't tell him. Charles's first comment was, oh God, it's a boy. Now, I've got to tell you about the gravity of this and the recklessness of it. The recklessness of getting this down on paper and providing it to Andrew Morton, knowing that Harry would grow up to read this, to read what might have been a throwaway comment or a joke or might not have even happened, to put it down on paper for him to read. And Diana would never have intended to be cruel to Harry, but this is the thing, the thoughtlessness. And actually, it makes one see the draw that Harry has to Meghan, because if you're going to compare Meghan to Diana, then it's certainly not in grace and style and beauty, but it would be more to do with the parallels of this sort of behaviour, which was not royal, was entirely indiscreet, and no doubt very hurtful to Harry. Who would want to hear that sort of information? We know that Diana was suffering in this period, and no one more than me has more sympathy for that. But the line I draw in these sort of sympathies comes when you then heap further suffering on other people, and how it didn't cross her mind that this might damage and hurt her beloved second son in the future. It's hard to grapple with, isn't it? So we'll wait with bated breath to find out whether Harry identifies as non-binary, trans, gender fluid, two-spirited. One thing that I will not do, if he chooses to live as the opposite sex at any time, I will respect those wishes. I do not believe that a man can become a woman or a woman become a man, but I do believe that one can modify one's body and live as the opposite sex. And personally, I would give someone the respect and freedom to do that, but under the understanding that they are living under modification and that they haven't magically transformed or transmuted their natural biology. And if he wants me to address him with female pronouns, I will do that, and I will call him Harriet or Henrietta, whatever it is, my dear. But I will not be calling him they or her they. That is one thing. Take your pick, my dear. I'll call you he or she, but I'm not going to be calling anybody they. But one thing I will say, Harry and Meghan, is that if you're going to be aligning yourself with this initiative that criticises parents for gendering their children even before birth, based on seeing their private parts in scans, if they have the temerity to begin gendering their children before birth, well, what about your own behaviour with your 1-year-old child, with Lilibet? Because she appeared to the public for the first time in a photograph in a dress with some band wrapped around her head with a flower on it. That was not very androgynous, was it? There was no mistaking. And don't tell us that at 1 year old Lily gave her approval for that. You didn't give her the choice. You didn't give her the choice of whether to appear in a dress or in pants. It should have been some sort of unisex baby grow. But you have gendered Lilibet. And you've gendered her by not giving her an androgynous name, because Lilibet is associated with the late Queen. You could have had Max, you could have had Alex, you could have had Sam, you could have had Joe. Lilibet is a feminine name. So you have removed that option from her, you have gendered her, you have gone along with norms that are typical for girls. So what sort of opportunity are you giving her to break free of these gender stereotypes, my dear? And I'm sure the same could be said with Archie, because I haven't seen any pictures of him in a dress over the last few years. And yes, he's coming into his own mind now. He can choose his own clothes. And he did wear some sort of gown at his baptism. I'll give that to you. But the rest of the time, the few photographs that we've seen, you did not put him in the same clothes as Lilibet. So why are you making such a grave difference between the two of them? They should be in gender-neutral clothing if you're aligning yourself with this initiative that takes it so very seriously not to gender them. I want to thank you most sincerely for the reaction to the last broadcast, where I asked for more input from some of our younger fruits in the basket. And it was no disparagement to the riper, delicious fruits in the basket. It was merely that was a lot of what I was hearing. And I wondered what else was out there. And wow, it was amazing to see the rich variety of the basketeers in the fruit basket. Loads of you. Tens of thousands of you are sort of a silent majority that don't comment, that don't chatter away. And you came out of hiding in the last video. It's there for everybody to go and look at. All ages, all genders, men, women, gay, straight, everything in between. from so many corners of the globe, all races, just so joyous to read through. I wish I could like every single comment. I'm trying to go through and read all of them. Don't think that I don't read them, because I do. I just can't reply to all. I'd love to be able to respond to all of them, but I can't. But thank you for your stories. Thank you for your input. Thank you for telling me why you were quiet. Thank you for telling me who you share my broadcasts with. It's more touching than I can tell you. So I won't keep on telling you, but it really is. And thank you for getting my humour. The vast 99 or more % of you get my humour. Diane Schmidt has some harsh words for the younger generation, and it should go without saying that my viewers of the younger generation have fabulous taste and are sophisticated. But for the rest of the rabble, Diane Schmidt says, I find the youth of today to be humorless, unsophisticated, plebeian, and undereducated. They do not understand subtlety and what I call wink humour. It was such fun being naughty. I am 81. My husband just passed away. I will miss the laughter and sex. Diane Schmidt, I love you. I absolutely love you. You are my kind of fruit. I'm so sorry to hear about your husband, but wow, all those fabulous years of laughter and sex. Hope the memory keeps you warm, my dear. And what a fabulous comment. I found that very moving. And yes, you enjoy wink humour, as you call it. And as I've always said, I try to deliver everything with a wink and a nudge. Occasionally, it goes over some people's heads. They don't get it. Everyone's got a different sense of humour. I understand that. My humour is very camp. It's high camp, and it's also very British. And so it can be quite dry. And fruitcakes can take things seriously, which are supposed to be there as an amusement. But you get it, Diane Schmidt. You get it, as do the vast majority of my basketeers. And that is what enables them to become basketeers, because they get it. Get it? Got it? Good. Here's a comment from Rachel Maddow's wife. That's the username, Rachel Maddow's wife. River, just wanted to give you a high five for saying that everyone who brandishes rainbows in this day and age has got something wrong with them. Again, that was something that was said with a wink and a nudge, but perhaps based in something serious and something true. As an American lesbian, I agree with you 5,000%. If someone's a teenager, I'll give them a pass. But all the pride and LGBT, FJ, FD, KS, LF, EQQ, blah, 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 as I call it, dear, the letters community. All of that is BS, is total nonsense these days. As soon as we got the right to marry here, all the normal people stopped being engaged in it. You are so right, Rachel Maddow's wife. You are so correct. Now most of them are woke, straight people who are trying to get attention and justify why they're misfits, and don't get me started on the political agenda they're pushing. I wish they'd keep my name out of their mouths. Well, I agree with you, my dear. The letters community these days is horrid, horrid. All the fun and the joy has been sucked out of it. And yes, a little element of danger. And I was in a city in the kingdom last summer that happened to coincide with a pride rally going on there. I wouldn't have attended it intentionally, but I happened to be in the city and pass it. And my friends and I kind of joined in some of the fun and had a little bit of dance. That was fun. The whole atmosphere of it was strange. There was barely a man in sight, barely a man in sight. True gays seem to have vanished. True gays have subsumed themselves into normal society and watch from them the fringes as the silent majority, I'm sure. And in its place you have, as you say, a lot of allies, so a lot of heterosexual couples, normally middle class and very sort of woke and left wing. And I love some of those types, but I just don't care to see them in profusion, along with many members of the trans community who you're not allowed. There was a time when they referred to themselves as transsexuals, and now they're not allowed to. There was a time when someone like me would refer to themselves as a granny, but with a TR at the start, and I'm not even sure if I can get away with saying that word now, which I adore calling myself and describing myself as. It was full of them. Now it is full of the confused and the mentally ill. There are a lot of vulnerable people that, as you say, have been goaded and shepherded into waving flags for certain things. And it's just moreover, what I'm more sad about is just the sense of joy that's gone, and the sense of real purpose, because there was a time when there was a purpose in trying to attain equality, and as you say, when that equality was met and achieved, then they wanted more. Then they wanted, a faction of them wanted to come in, and they didn't just want the right, they wanted privileges, and that's where things get dangerous. So yes, you say, if someone's a teenager, I'll give them a pass. Well, yes, because they just don't know any different, do they? They don't know how things once were. But it is really sad to see what that community has evolved into. And these pride rallies and the community, they are all ultra woke. It's very dogmatic. They're all ultra woke. They're all very, very left leaning. And for somebody like me who is more centrist, there's no enjoyment in that. I want people there of all stripes, of all political persuasions, jiving away with each other, if it comes with having a healthy debate about it. Although back in the day, people didn't need to be talking so politically all the time, have that at the forefront of their minds. It was just more about getting to know about the character of a person. Thanks for popping by. I'll see you in the next broadcast, and I appreciate your company. Leave me a juicy comment below, keep it fruity, and if you'd like to tip me, my tip jar is in the description box below. I thank you so much, my dears. Ta-ra and toodle pip.